Hello, Scoop, as we say in Portugal, sorry, a little late to the screen this morning. How are you? Carl Munson here, hola bon dia, with the Good Morning Portugal live stream YouTube channel and podcast, of course, where we've gone past 20,000 downloads, which obviously very pleased about here. Thank you to all the podcast listeners. You're still being very quiet. Would love to hear from you on carl@carlmunson.com. If you want to send me a bit of feedback or say hi, I'd be grateful for that. So yesterday we were talking about the hoopoe bird. And let's continue with that today because it's the most extraordinary thing. I remember the first time I saw my first hoopoe in Portugal. Me and the whole family were quite delighted, rivaled only possibly by seeing a swallowtail for the first time, swallowtail butterfly, the other day. A couple of days ago here in Anadia in the Aveiro district of Portugal. But all over Portugal, incredible wildlife. I suppose if you're from Northern Europe, it's quite extraordinary and very exotic. I guess if you come from Africa and you come to Portugal, everything seems quite normal, but perhaps mundane. I don't know. But what's your favorite bird in Portugal? And do tell us in the comments. How are you today? What are you up to today? The other thing that I was thinking about was my sleep pattern. And I don't know if I should be sharing this much detail with you, but I tend to sort of stay up late and then get up fairly early to do this. But I haven't embraced siesta culture. So that's just an aside. We might go into that more tomorrow morning. But have you, as a settler in Portugal and with the hot weather, have you adjusted your sleep pattern so that you can be productive early on, have a break, and then be productive late into the evening? Have you embraced Portuguese lifestyle like that? Some great answers coming in already. Obviously, your favorite Portuguese bird. Oh, honestly, Mr. Perkins. Hola, bon dia, my lovelies from Owen. How you doing over there in Villa de Rey? And we, of course, featured your picture. Let me do this again. Let me just take myself off the screen so that you can see the hoopoe bird, which is one of our very own community members' snapshot. And that would be Owen, who's on the screen at the moment. Just check. Absolutely beautiful. A pair of hoopoes there. And if you do have any morning shots, Ola Bondia screen holder pictures, starter snaps for me, do send them in again. Same email address as I gave before for you podcast listeners, carl@carlmunson.com. And thank you, Owen, so much. Owen sent in, actually, yes, talking of swallowtail butterflies, he has sent me both the hoopoe bird picture and the swallowtail butterfly picture. Mine is Rita. Answering the question, who's your favorite Portuguese bird? Mine is Rita, says Neil. Very good. Look, my favorite bird in Portugal is Mrs. L, Mrs. Leyland, wife and partner there. Very good. Excellent. Well done, you two. Jeff and Neil and Ola bon dia. Sad to be back in UK, says Sunny, who's checked in with us this morning. We're hanging out with Sunny and the family over the last few days. Had a fabulous barbecue on Saturday. And to me, you know, we occasionally talk about your Portuguese moment, you know, that moment when you think, this is what I moved here for. Certainly being with Sunny, you and your family and other friends that we invited over last Saturday at the barbecue, that for me was a totally Portuguese moment. Getting the barbie going, a vegan and vegetarian barbecue, I'll have you know. And what always happens is eventually some meat seems to find its way onto but someone turns up, don't they, with a bit of meat. But I managed to quarantine the barbecue for the vegans and vegetarians for the first bit and do some lovely stuff. And yeah, it was such, you know, hashtag perfect Portuguese moment. Sorry to hear that you're sad to be back in the UK, Sunny. Someone's got to be there to keep everything going over there. My Alexandrine parrot, Albie, is my favorite Portugal bird. I think we need a picture, Joe, really. An Alexandrine parrot. Is that like from Alexandria in Egypt? I wonder. Do let me know. But good morning to you, Albie. And I wonder if Albie can hear his or her name on coming from your laptop or whatever you listen on, we might get a response. And am I allowed to say who's a pretty boy or who's a pretty girl, Albie? And see if we get a response there. Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Sunny. Don't worry, Sunny. You'll be back here soon enough, I'm sure. The black kite. I don't think I've seen one of those. Or maybe I have, but I just didn't know what it was called. That's Owen's favorite bird. Paul, we're going straight into this. I haven't done the weather yet, and I've got a news story to share with you that I think you need to know about. You might not want to know about it, but I think you need to know about it. Hola, bon dia. Love the azure-winged magpies when they are around in groups. What, is that like a jay then? Because the jay is part of that corvid family, isn't it? That we were talking about yesterday, the crows, the ravens, and so on. And the jay and the magpie all in the same family. And I'll attempt to answer that question about which group of birds it belongs to. And we'll have a quick look at the Sagresh bird spotting, watching, twitching festival that's coming up later this year as well before we go. But yes, your pictures are most welcome. I'm not sure how you would do that right now. Maybe post them in the Happy Homesteaders group. If you can be bothered to do that. Thank you, Paul. Of course, the storks. Love the storks that are prevalent in the Alentejo. It's amazing, isn't it, to see them on when you go to Alentejo and Algarve for the first time and you see the storks having made their homes on the electricity pylons or anywhere else they fancy, really. But they've all just migrated over the last few weeks. Okay, so they've been with you for a little while, Neil, and they're gone again, just leaving their incredibly engineered nests. Presumably behind. So yeah, I don't know. Do they come back and just? Is it like a lot of expats and travellers and nomads in Portugal? They leave the nest and they come back to it, and they just have to do a little bit of renovation on it, draw down the shutters, and fly away to wherever. Where do they go, Neil? Do you know the answer to that? Where have they migrated to now? Are they going south down to Africa, wherever? Let us know. Back to Portugal on the 12th for 2 weeks. Looking forward to meeting you, Mr. M. Looking forward to meeting you, Mr. L, as well, too. And thank you for helping me out with my messaged inquiry. I'm sure we'll talk more about that subject more publicly in the coming months and years, Jeff. But thank you for your help with that. Yeah, and looking forward to meeting you, too. Very happy to meet up with the people with whom I have virtual relationships here on the Good Morning Portugal live stream. And I think we may have a bit of a network, frankly, developing as well. Our local ambassadors, working title, we won't be using that officially, obviously, because you can get yourself into some trouble. If not trouble, then confusion, calling yourself an ambassador. Which reminds me, I'm looking forward to the British Embassy hangout. Although that doesn't sound right in the same sentence, does it? The British ambassador and the embassy and hanging out. I think you need to be a bit more formal than that. And I may well wear my dinner jacket for such an occasion. And others have been suggesting they may wear ball gowns. So really looking forward to that. That's a Portugal Calling webinar with Expats Portugal. Good morning to all the Expats Portugal people here who've joined us this morning. Hola, bon dia from a very humid and hot Bahrain. Can't wait to see the storks. Oh, so they're on their way to you, are they, Wendy? Wow. Apparently, Africa, maybe the Alentejo is too hot. Yes, could well be. Let's find out then. Let's see what the weather's going to be like for you today there. I'll go to Beja first, shall I? 16 degrees at the moment. Nearly said 10 degrees. When do you ever have 10 degrees in Beja? 33 to look forward to today. Another nice hot one for you, Neil. 35 tomorrow. Yeah, and just staying around that 35, mid-30s centigrade for the foreseeable future, basically, mate. So enjoy that. Going back to the capital, Lisbon today, 18 degrees and clear. 30 is what it's going to rise to. 33 tomorrow. A hot week in Lisbon as well. Temperatures in the low 30s. Porto, 17 degrees and sunny at the moment. 27 degrees there. A slightly cooler day than the capital, but still very nice. Not a cloud in the sky for the foreseeable future. Coimbra, I've got 24 degrees in the studio already. And as usual, I think it's because I'm just getting used to this because we've only just recently moved here. But it starts in a fairly sort of muted and overcast way. Bit of fog in the valley over the vineyard that I can see from the window. 16 degrees up the road in Coimbra. 32 will be the top temperature today as predicted. And yes, very warm for the rest of the week. 33, 34, 35. 31, all around those sorts of temperatures, but into the 30s for Coimbra. And Faro, interestingly, letting the side down, I have to say, in the 20s, 19 degrees and clear at the moment, and 25 to look forward to today. And a very nice looking week in Faro. So hopefully you did all your outside jobs when we had the overcast weather, and you can look forward to straight up sun worshipping for the next 7 days or so for sure. Colder evenings, of course. The nights are drawing in and it's getting cooler in the evenings. And to answer that earlier question, have you got into siesta culture to deal with the different weather from where you came? I grew up in England, and the idea of having a siesta in the afternoon is only really induced by heavy drinking or illness. Maybe it's for some older folks, a little kip in the chair in the afternoon is fair enough, but it's not part of the culture. And you have to come to the Mediterranean countries, don't you, to really get the idea of the siesta culture, which seems very attractive to tourists and visitors. But have you, as an expat and settle here, got into siesta culture? And I apologize ahead of a challenge here. Of course, it won't be called a siesta in Portuguese. If you know the Portuguese word for having an afternoon kip, do please let me know. We've got a birthday to celebrate here by the look of it. Will likes the flocks of swallows when they're here twice a year. I think it is. Was the same up the mountains in Arganil. Yeah, he's an Obidosh man at the moment. And up the mountains in Arganil, was pleased to see the flocks of swallows. Me too. Yeah, House Martin, swift swallows. Whatever they are, those wonderful birds feeding in the dusk. In our last house, we had a golf course disused, like an apocalyptic golf course that was slightly overgrown. You could make out that it was a golf course, and there was a beautiful lake there. And the swallow swifts or house martins were feeding one evening when we went there, and it darkened the sky. And you hear of that, don't you, from the old days? Migratory birds or flocks of birds darkening the sky in a way that we just don't see anymore. And actually, I mean, it wasn't an eclipse or anything as dramatic as that, but it really was quite special to have so many birds around us in the sky, feeding on the water of the lake. And of course, whilst they were feeding on the mosquitoes were feeding on us. So we had to get out of there pretty sharpish. But I felt like I wanted to put on a beekeeper's suit, and go back there in the early evening and enjoy that. It was really special. Thank you. Well, you may get more than you bargain for if you go bird watching in Portugal. Is that a play on words to make the point, or a typo? A friend of ours entered a hide to excuse me, you've made me laugh, and now I need a sip of tea. Hold on. Yes, okay, let's start that again. You may get more than you bargain for if you go bird watching in Portugal. A friend of ours entered a hide to stumble across a young naked couple getting friendly. Sounds like they'd already got friendly, frankly, if they were naked in there, but bird spotting in every sense possibly there. Good heavens. Portugal, what are you like? Good morning, Carl. Can you wish my sister Laurie Austin a very happy birthday? She does a difficult job looking after my mum, and it'd be lovely to make her day a bit special, of course. And look, everyone else is doing the same thing. So, many happy returns. Happy birthday, Laurie Austin. I hope you have a great day, and lots of love to mum there as well, who may be tuned in as well. So yeah, delighted to do that, Gary. Good morning to you, Laurie, and yeah, do have a great day. And that sentiment echoed by Ty, who wishes you a happy birthday, and by Owen so far as well. And I'm sure others will join in as well. Ty is saying, how is Dave getting on with the new arrivals? Okay, yes. So kitten update, please, as well, Gary. I don't know, Laurie, but you might be getting a kitten for your birthday this year. It's just a feeling. Call me psychic if you like. Albie is in her aviary with her pals. So how many birds have you got there exactly? Does Albie converse at all? And has Albie learned any Portuguese swear words yet? Have you learned any Portuguese swear words yet? Please do not put them in the comments. Keep them to yourselves. Just say how that's coming along. Portuguese afternoon is sexta. Okay, rather than a siesta. Very much part of the life in Alentejo, the land of tired people. I guess their productivity is placed elsewhere in the day than the sort of conventional Northern European 9 to 5, right? So they'll get up with the sun, presumably, and work. And then when it gets too hot, have the siesta. And then when the sun cools off a little bit, if it ever does, start work again, later on in the day. That seems utterly sensible to me. But thank you, Neil, for that siesta. Very good. Which not to be confirmed with Friday, which is siesta as well, isn't it? Siesta feira. Oh, my goodness. Afternoon nap. Indeed, Seshta. Okay, let's have a look then. Let's go deeper into this, the intel around the hoopoe bird. And so you can see some lovely shots on the screen and find out a bit more about the hoopoe. We'll deal with that. I'm going to play you the sound as well, actually. Actually, that'll be the first thing to do so that you can tell if you've heard. And I hope this will come through, but you'll be able to tell now if you've heard this bird in Portugal. Isn't that lovely? And certainly remember that brings back happy memories for us when we lived on the golf course. Not on the golf course, but near a golf course down there in Arawera in Almada. It's not a district, is it? The Almada part of south of Lisbon there, south of the river. But yeah, that was so good to see the hoopoe, so good to hear the hoopoe as well. So let me tell you a bit more about that bird. Portuguese bird of the day, the hoopoe. Today, the Eurasian hoopoe, Upupua ipopsh. What a great name, Upupua ipopsh. The hoopoe is an iconic and unmistakable bird. It looks incredible, seeing these pictures again, that provides the sound backdrop to nearly all the safari documentaries. Even though the hoopoe you hear in the background of those documentaries is the African hoopoe, strictly speaking, a different species of the hoopoe. It is a resident. This is from Birding in Portugal. I'm sure this is a site that we will return to from time to time. Birdinginportugal.com. Thank you very much for this information. It is a resident, has a salmon pink neck, chest, and belly, as opposed to the orange tinge of the African hoopoe. A large crest that is flattened in flight and normally at other times, but is always raised upon alighting, as well as various other times. We can guess what those are. Imagine display rituals, pre-mating. Might be a time you would want to raise your crest, so to speak. The full-bodied black and white striped wings. It has a fluttery and easily recognized flight pattern. Yeah, that's the other thing about the hoopoe, isn't it? Rather like a butterfly in some respects. A sort of skittery, jittery flight pattern, and feeds on insects caught by stalking on the ground. So yeah, you will see them a lot, waddling about on the ground looking for insects. Hole nesting, usually in a tree, but at other times in stone walls, and even on occasion at ground level, I guess, to stay close to those insects. So those of you lucky enough to be watching this morning or on YouTube will see these beautiful pictures of hoopoes, courtesy of Birding in Portugal. Isn't that lovely? Let me just treat you to those. We'll have another sip of tea. There you go. So we'll leave that there for Birding in Portugal and see if we can solve the mystery. Wanted to know which family it belonged to. Hornbills was one guess. The corvids was another, because how it came up was there was a play on words. Of course, we're talking about, we had a COVID update. Oh yeah, that's it. I do have to share a news story with you about the pandemic in Portugal in just a moment. But oh, excellent. Joe has sent a picture of Albie on the Happy Homesteaders. How lovely. Nanny nap. Yes, that's a siesta. Siesta is a nanny nap. Fantastic. Excellent, Joe. Gary Austin, how lovely. Thank you, guys. News report. I have located Dave and co. Davina, I think we need to call her, right? She has moved into an old garden trailer. I will pop a picture on the website later. Fabulous. That will go in Happy Homesteaders as well. I've got 2 eggs. The first 2 eggs from our chickens, a picture to put up in the Happy Homesteaders, as well as, oh my goodness, do you like the little tomatoes? Our lovely landlady, Grassa here, brought the last of the harvest of the tomatoes and carrots to us. Baby carrots and baby tomatoes. Must have taken me half an hour to prep all this up, and I roasted them in the oven last night. But they're so sweet and lovely, these little tomatoes. So yesterday it was wonderful. Couple of eggs, first 2 eggs from the chickens, and all those lovely tiny tomatoes. You know, we all know tomatoes are fruit, of course, but the tiny little ones, flavor sensation. And carrots, the likes of which the flavor I've not tasted since being a kid. I mean, they really taste of something rather than those weird big fibrous things that make it to the supermarket. But thank you for that, Gary. Picture of Dave Davina coming, and perhaps her 4 kittens on the Happy Homesteaders group, which is ours on Facebook. Thank you, Gary. From watching subtitled films, I would be led to believe that Portugal has no profanities. No matter what is said in English, it is always translated into idiots or idiot. Oh, sorry, idiota. Okay, well, that's very polite, isn't it? So perhaps you're right, Ty. The Portuguese people, with their reputation of being respectful and polite, does not allow any cursing or profanity or swearing at all. So I'm glad we've cleared that up. I'm glad we've cleared that up. And another reason to bring your grandma to Portugal. Fantastic. Keep those favorite birds coming. I like it. I like to see a heron, I have to say. Always loved herons. I imagine, this sort of power animal thing, totem animals, and you read into whatever you want to read into on seeing a special animal or bird. Whenever I see a heron, I think something special is going to happen. I think it might be something to do with sort of Chinese iconography, but it's an auspicious bird for me, the heron. And when we were in Korea, just seeing the heron, disturbing a fishing heron and seeing it rising majestically out of the water is a very special thing as well, I think. And a kingfisher, saw a kingfisher in the waters, the thermal, special medicinal waters of the Korea Termash Gardens there. Yeah, when you see that electric blue kingfisher go across the water, it's a very special thing. And there's a clue into the origins of the hoopoe or its family. Let's share this screen with you. You're going to trusted Wikipedia for this. And there we go. More about the hoopoe here. Colorful birds found across Africa, Asia, and Europe, notable for their distinctive crown of feathers. I think we've discovered that already. 3 living and 1 extinct species are recognized. Well, let's spare a thought for the extinct species of the hoopoe. And who knows, it may make a comeback and one of us might see it. Though for many years, all of the extant species were lumped as a single species, the Hoopoe epops, as I said before. In fact, some taxonomists, not taxidermists obviously, still consider all 3 species conspecific. If you know what that means, well done. Some authorities also keep the African and Eurasian hoopoe together, but split the Madagascar hoopoe. It sounds like it's a heady world, doesn't it? The academics involved here of ornithology, arguing over whether the species should be lumped together or not. And here we go, the taxonomy and the systematics. Is that what we need to find out? Oh, yeah, the hoopoe was classified in... Oh, I see. Okay. Hoopoe and epops are respectively the Latin and ancient Greek names for the hoopoe. Both, like the English name, are onomatopoeic forms which imitate the cry of the bird. Well, does that sound like hoopoe? You see, I'd be calling it the hoo-hoo-hoo, not the hoopoe. But there you go. The hoopoe was classified in the Clade Coras. We need Boris Johnson here with his grasp of Latin, don't we? Perhaps the only skill he's got. That was uncalled for, wasn't it? The hoopoe was classified in the Clade or Clade Coraciformes. I go into a bit of Portuguese, don't I? Coraciformes, which also includes kingfishers, bee-eaters, and rollers. So there, we thought maybe the hornbill or the corvid family, but it seems to be in that classification that includes kingfishers, the aforementioned kingfisher, bee-eaters, and rollers. A close relationship between the hoopoe and the wood hoopoes is also supported by the shared and unique nature of their stapes. What is the bone in the middle of the ear? Okay. In Sibley, far too much information in Wikipedia, but then again, that's what Wikipedia is all about. The fossil record of hoopoes is very incomplete, with the earliest fossil coming from the Quaternary era. How long ago is that? Spans from 2.588 plus or minus 0.005 million years ago. Just to put you fully in the picture there. The fossil record of their relatives is older. The fossil wood hoopoes dating back to the Miocene period. I'm glad to say none of our listeners do that. So I think that's probably all we need to know, about hoopoes. And we will do a different Portuguese bird of the day. I feel like we need a jingle. Can we get Albie the parrot to do that jingle for us? Portuguese bird of the day. Which, of course, parrots don't sound anything like that. But there you go. I think we've covered hoopoes. Excellent. And we've had a little bit of... intel about bird watching. We'll have a look at the Sagresh Festival in a minute. But first, I just want to give you a message from the Prime Minister about track and trace. But be careful going into a bird watching hide. Obviously, we've discovered this morning, and I'm sure we found out who your favourite birds are. And we will do more of that because I think Portuguese wildlife is such a great thing to celebrate here. Those tomatoes, Sunny had a chance to taste the tomatoes and carrots here. They were superb. Look, recipe idea here, lovely sauteed with the spinach, which was also forthcoming. The espinafres, the Portuguese spinach. I think it's also known as New Zealand spinach, isn't it? With that sort of diamond-shaped leaf rather than the spinach you might be used to if you come from the UK or the United States. If you come from the United States, you should be asleep at the moment. If you're not, or if you're seeing this later, the phone in tonight is the Hola America or Hola Os Americas. Tonight, the American-based or North American and South American-based phone-in and show that we do on a Wednesday evening. So from 10 o'clock tonight, it's the American-themed Good Evening Portugal show. But here we go. Sat here wondering about soil types now. Going to have to join the Homestead group. You're not in that already. Happy Homesteaders. Please join that, Sunny. Absolutely. And the thing about soil, I think, is, you one of the really lovely things about prepping all that veg on Saturday was all the waste that was generated as well with the peelings and so on. And it was all going to go back into the ground. So you'll be generating your own and reconditioning your soil when you finally get to some terra portuguesa. And start composting as soon as you get here and start conditioning the soil. It can be a bit hard and a bit clay-like, but I'm sure you can do a lot to condition it yourself as well. So I'm looking forward to swapping homesteading notes with you as soon as you arrive and start growing. I think I can safely say I have reached that special age, says Gary, when the afternoon nap with Mrs. A has become part of my Portuguese constitution. That is a lovely picture. Or was it you two that were found in the bird hide, perhaps, having your so-called afternoon nap, you rascals, you fruity rascals, I wonder. Or do you have are you at that special age as well, Gary, where you have a high-backed chair in which to have said nap? Or you're not quite at that special age yet? I wonder. But, when we get to a special age, we should have our own chair, shouldn't we, that we've colonized, basically, for that, for reading the paper, for shouting at kids, for not being able to find the remote control in and it's fallen down the crack for spilling tea on and having that afternoon siesta. Perhaps I've gone too far painting that picture of you. I don't know. So let's go to the PM's message about track and trace. Some talk, isn't there, of a second lockdown in Portugal. Sorry to bring it up, but I feel some sort of responsibility to keep people abreast and informed of what's going on. PM Costa presents Stay Away, the COVID app, saying download is our civic duty. So this is what's being said. I had a real scare. I thought the Portugal resident had stopped publishing stories. I just must have had an old page that kept loading into my browser, and it looked like it's frozen in time towards the 20th of August or something. I couldn't find any new stories. Here's one. Officially presenting Portugal's mobile phone contact tracing app, Stay Away COVID in Porto today. That was yesterday, in fact. Prime Minister Antonio Costa said it's the nation's civic duty to use it. Have you? Will you download this? Stay Away COVID is a voluntary app which, through the physical proximity between smartphones, allows for chains of contagion to be detected anonymously and rapidly. Exhorted Mr. Costa, do not be afraid. Why would he say that? The app will guarantee the pandemic doesn't run out of control, he said, hinting for the first time that a second lockdown is not perhaps out of the question, as he suggested back in July. The PM's message, relayed by Radio Renascença, was the only way of ensuring that the pandemic doesn't run out of control and that the country doesn't have to go through the same as what happened in the months of March and April. And it depends uniquely on citizens. Mr. Costa added the app doesn't guarantee the cure, obviously, but it does promise to interrupt chains of transmission. Stay Away COVID was initially due for presentation by the end of June. So as with many software projects, it was a bit late, but and probably over budget, but it's here now. And the PM says it's the nation's civic duty to use it. Anyone here got that? Will they be using it? I imagine what some of you are saying. Yeah, get out of here. And others, yes, definitely. Let's see. Let's see what you have to say about that and the track and trace. Let us, before we dispense completely with twitching, bird watching, ornithological matters, let me just also share with you some information about the Sagresh Birdwatching Festival, which seems like a really nice thing, a tradition, obviously, of the Portuguese tourism industry. Must attract people from all over the world. Let's have a quick look at this. This is, if you go to birdwatchingsagresh.com, exactly as the name and its namesake beer suggests, Festival Observation de Aves. And of course, I mean, shame on me for not doing this before, but Aves, Aves is the word for bird in Portugal. Atividades de natureza. So nature activities and bird watching, Observation de Aves. That's the festival from the 2nd to the 5th of October 2020 in Sagresh. And of course, this event may undergo programming and structuring changes to respect preventative measures related to the COVID-19 pandemic. Let us have a look then at what's available. 80 field trips, 70 plus bird watching events, activities, 30 workshops and lectures, 50 boat departures. That sounds nice, doesn't it? So you go out on the water in the Algarve there, and 10 plus 10, more than 10 activities for children, and 30 online activities as well. How super is that? And it's the 11th edition. Portugal's biggest nature event is back in Sagresh. The proposals this year are varied: field trips, boat trips, thematic mini courses, lectures, environmental education workshops, ringing and monitoring sessions. Oh, wow, you get up close and personal with the birds doing the ringing, wouldn't you? And much, much more. There are other suggestions like hiking, photography courses, historical guide, dolphin watching as well. I know, but I guess, you know, if you're in that part of the world, you might do a bit of dolphin watching as well, mightn't you? Anybody here swum with dolphins? So the program is all there. Seabird watching, bird ringing is sold out already. Yeah, that attracted my eye. So you get really close to the birds that way. And isn't it great that terrible olive harvesting has been stopped in Portugal, banned? Really good news. So even more birds apparently, hopefully, in the air as a result of that terrible nighttime olive harvesting that used to kill thousands of birds every year. One of the unsung stories, I think, of the year. But yeah, loads to do there at the Sagresh beer bird watching. I'm sure there's a Sagresh beer festival as well, but this isn't it. Birdwatchingsagresh.com is where you need to go, and a nice shot in the arm for Portuguese tourism, and an event obviously that lends itself well to social distancing. So extra points for anyone who can identify that. To me, that is just a yellow bird, perhaps a tit. That's the first time I've said tit, isn't it, during this special on birds this morning. No sniggering at the back, please. The 11th such year of this festival. So there you go. I think we should perhaps leave it there this morning. Let's just see if we've got a few more comments to cover. And also to let you know about, we're talking to Peter van Noonen about buying and renting property on our Portugal calling webinar on Thursday. And of course, thereafter, the wine club and the Red Fizzy Bairrada. If you've never tried Red Fizz, which is a Portuguese speciality, do that. We have announced that now in the Good Morning Portugal Wine Club community. Check it out and give it a go. Owen, if you're still there, traditionally, the Red Fizz is paired with suckling pig, to the horror, I'm sure, of vegans and vegetarians listening, watching. What alternative might you pair that with? I think it is a sort of brew that needs pairing with something, or that we should have something to nibble on whilst we're tasting it. So, Owen, please let us know what you might pair, a vegan or vegetarian nibble perhaps to go with that Red Fizz from Bairrada. And on Friday, let me just share this with you, because I'm really looking forward to talking to Sarah Cruz. I'll find out how to pronounce her name correctly, obviously, on the day there. But on Friday, Sarah Cruz, have we crashed it? No, we haven't crashed it. Browser can't access your screen. Okay, this is a bit weird. I thought sometimes, when I share a screen, it crashes the whole darn thing. Let me see if I could do that again. Here we go. This is gowalksportugal.com. These are guided walks, and one of the guides will be with us on Friday, Sarah. Dreams of traveling will soon come true. Get inspired by Coimbra. Look at these lovely walks you can do. Fado of Coimbra, including a live show. That's probably not one for Neil. UNESCO World Heritage and University of Coimbra tour, including the Joanina Library, Riverside, and Tales of Love. Ooh, I say. 27 euros per person, 15 euros per person, UNESCO World Heritage at the Historical Centre of Coimbra. So lots of tours to look at, and we'll be talking to Sarah about those. Oh, Bairrada Vineyards, Alianza Museum, and Vista Alegre Factory, the gastronomy and wine meets art tour. Boom, that's one for us at the wine club, isn't it? I have to save up for that one, 85 euros for that event. But also you can go to Penella, Tomar and Almorol. That sounds like a good one. Coimbra and Alcobaça. Excellent again. Alcobaça, always worth a visit. And Fatima and Nazaré. Excellent. Tailored tours as well. So we'll find out more. We'll find out more about those tours on Friday with our live guest, Sarah Cruz. Back to a few more comments then before we go. Linda has the high back. I will flake out anywhere like a dead pope. I can hear you saying that. Apologies to all Catholics watching, listening, but that does work well, doesn't it? Flaking out like a dead pope, I was. Is that a particularly Brummy? And I'm sorry, Gary, that's the first Brum impersonation I've done, isn't it? Nearly as good as my Donald Trump, I would like to think. Flaking out like a dead pope. My favorite place to kip is still the dog shelf. Not too old yet to worry about getting back up again. The dog shelf. Okay, and is that because of the associated warmth of a couple of dogs that you lie with there? Don't knock it till you've tried it. Go and see the flamingos on Obidos Lagoon. Lovely, says Gary. Flamingos, amazing. And is it true that they're pink because they eat so many shrimps? I don't know if that's true or not. But that is a lovely thing to suggest and do. The flamingos in Obidos Lagoon. Wonderful. And Wendy says, swam with dolphins in Cancun. Although lots of negative press with them being kept in captivity, they were excited to come out of their holding pool to meet the swimmers. I bet they were. What an amazing experience that must have been, Wendy. Thank you for sharing that. Were you in Peaky Blinders, Carl? Was that because they all did terrible Brummie accents as well? Were you wincing whilst watching that, thinking, no, that's just somewhere slightly outside of Leicester or whatever? Understand how exciting it must have been. Personally, don't agree with. Oh, okay. So yes, dolphin politics, especially when there are boat trips to see them in wild. And when you see and swim in the open sea with them around you, I'm sure you will never want to see them in captivity again. Fair point, Neil. I'll leave you two grown-ups to discuss that in a respectful manner. Henry Jeffries, Bondia just tuned in, back at work. Lucky. I love my job. Yes, indeed. Lucky. It certainly is, isn't it? Isn't that a blessing when you love the work you do, as I do, right here on the Good Morning Portugal live stream. And I've learned so much this morning, including this. The dog shelf is the floor. There you go. I didn't know that. I've learned a lot this morning. Including the dog shelf being the floor. I will try and put that in a conversation today. That's the best way to embed learning, isn't it? Is to use it. Yes, I think I might have drunk a little bit too much of the red last night when I was doing the Portugal news hour. I got a bit tight. End of the show was interesting. We started talking about living without borders. We were talking about the border between Portugal and Spain, about which the respective ministers have been discussing the future. And we, for a moment on a Monday evening, fueled by a little bit of red wine, considered a world without borders. So yeah, join us on a Monday evening where we discuss such things. No, Carl, says Gary, it was fairly good. You dropped your vowels all. It's nothing worse than people dropping their vowels, is there, all over the place. But I think that's a good thing, right, if you're doing a Brummie impersonation. So see you tomorrow morning. See you this evening if you're interested in an American flavoured Good Evening Portugal show. And we will be back again tomorrow morning, of course. So até amanhã, até breve, até próxima, até já, beijinhos, abraços, and have a great day. Basically, enjoy your nanny naps, whether in a high back chair or on the dog shelf later on today. Ciao for now.